Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something massive, really a fundamental change in our global energy system.
Yeah, it's all about this shift to electric vehicles, renewables.
Yeah,
And that means a huge demand for certain metals.
exactly. Things like lithium, copper, nickel, cobalt. It gets pretty complex pretty fast.
Uh-huh. Lots of articles, research.
Hmm.
It can feel overwhelming.
Right. So our mission today is really to distill all that. We've gone through the material to pull out the absolute essentials for you.
What you really need to know about, well, where these critical minerals are sourced from.
The geopolitics, which are fascinating and shifting.
And of course, the environmental and social sides, the dilemmas involved there.
So basically, you're fast track to understanding the core issues without getting lost in the weeds.
Absolutely. And what's striking right away is just the scale of it all. Amos Hochstein, the energy advisor, he put it quite starkly.
Oh, yeah.
He said essentially that our generation is electrifying everything while also completely flipping the old energy order on its head.
Flipping it how?
Well, think about it. Power is shifting away from the traditional oil, gas, coal producers
Okay.
and moving towards countries that have the minerals needed for batteries, solar panels, EVs. We're talking nickel, lithium, cobalt, graphite, rare earths.
So a whole new map of global influence, really.
Precisely. It's a fundamental reshaping.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning then. The actual hunt for these resources, sometimes it starts in really unexpected ways, right?
Totally. Like that story out of Nevada, the Silver Peak Range. A botanist just stumbled upon this little plant, Tiehm's buckwheat.
Right, the one with the sort of bluish-gray leaves and yellow
Yes,
flowers.
that's the one. Blooms late spring. Turns out it was growing right on top of a huge lithium deposit.
Eh.
Rhyolite Ridge, they call the place.
Wow, just sitting there.
Yeah, it really highlights how this search is unfolding, and it underscores the demand driving it.
Let's talk about that demand. The scale difference is pretty wild, isn't it?
It really is. Take nickel, for example. An EV battery, depending on the type, might need, 40 to 60 kilograms of nickel?
Okay, 40 to 60 kilos. And a regular car.
A traditional internal combustion engine, maybe 1 or 2 kilos, tops.
That's a massive jump. No wonder it's a global hunt.
Exactly. And where these resources are located is, well, geopolitically critical,
Yeah, the distribution seems really concentrated in some areas. China comes up a lot.
dominant. Biggest copper consumer, yes, but also huge in processing rare earth elements. They control a lot of that stage.
And Indonesia, they're big in nickel, I gather.
Biggest reserves globally.
Yeah.
And they actually restricted exports, trying to force companies to build processing plants and battery factories there.
Trying to capture more of the value chain. Smart.
Uh-huh. And then there's the Democratic Republic of Congo, cobalt.
Right. The DRC holds the vast majority of cobalt reserves, and that comes with, well, significant ethical concerns.
Very significant. Child labor issues, dangerous working conditions.
Mhm.
It's been widely reported. It's why you hear people like Elon Musk talking about wanting to get cobalt out of Tesla batteries entirely.
Which brings us squarely into the geopolitical landscape, doesn't it?
Absolutely. This concentration of minerals really defines the new energy geopolitics. Yeah, for the last century was about oil.
This one's about lithium, nickel, cobalt, and the others.
You got it. And look at battery production. China is miles ahead in
Yeah.
building these massive lithium-ion battery gigafactories.
Way ahead of North America and Europe.
Way ahead. And that translates into cost advantages too. Building an EV in China, apparently significantly cheaper than doing it in Europe right now.
It makes you think about how resource control can be used as leverage, like that time China cut off rare earth exports to Japan.
Exactly. That was back in 2010 during a dispute. A real wake-up call showing how these dependencies can be weaponized or at least used politically.
So how these new dependencies play out, that's going to be a major story for decades.
No doubt. Which leads us right into that central tension. We need this green energy transition urgently.
But getting the materials has real environmental and social costs. Big ones.
It's the core dilemma, and we see it sparking controversies all over the place. Mining projects are facing major pushback.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got examples like Rio Tinto in Australia destroying those ancient Aboriginal rock shelters, a huge outcry.
Terrible. And the Vale Tailings Dam collapse in Brazil, devastating environmental impact, loss of life, shows the risks involved in mining waste.
And here in the U.S., there are so many flashpoints. Oak Flat in Arizona, that Resolution Copper Mine proposal.
Right. Sacred ground for the San Carlos Apache tribe. Though it's complex, there isn't uniform opinion even within the tribe, which is important to note.
True. Then back to Nevada, you have the fight over Tiehm's buckwheat, that little plant we mentioned, trying to stop the Ioneer lithium mine at Rhyolite Ridge.
And not far away, Thacker Pass. Another big lithium project facing opposition over water concerns and, again, sacred site claims, this time from the Paiute tribe. They call it Pihimuha.
Then up near Minnesota's Boundary Waters, the Twin Metals project raises concerns about potential pollution in a wilderness area.
And the Pebble Mine saga in Alaska, potentially impacting that massive salmon fishery in Bristol Bay. That's been debated for years.
Even on the East Coast, right? Gaston County, North Carolina, local opposition to lithium mining proposals there, too.
It really brings up that whole not in my backyard or NIMBY issue. Everyone wants green energy.
But nobody wants the mine or the processing plant next door.
Exactly. So it forces the question, where do we accept these impacts?
Yeah.
If we want the benefits, someone, somewhere, experiences the downside.
Which is why there's a push for good mining, right? Responsible standards.
Yes, groups like the Initiative for Responsible Mining Assurance, IRMA, they try to certify mines based on environmental protection, community relations, worker safety.
But getting widespread adoption seems tough. And there's that tension between ideals and urgency. Like Ford doing a deal with Ioneer for lithium.
Even while IRMA had raised concerns about the Tiehm's buckwheat situation at that very site, it shows the pressure companies feel to secure supply now.
So relying solely on mining, even better mining, might not be enough. What about innovation, new tech?
Crucial. Especially in extraction, we're seeing exploration into things like direct lithium extraction, DLE.
DLE. That's about pulling lithium directly from brine, right? Potentially less water, less land use than traditional evaporation ponds.
That's the idea. But scaling it up has challenges. Remember Symbol. They had that potential deal with Tesla that fell through, and Berkshire Hathaway lost a grant for a DLE project at the Salton Sea. So promise, yes, but hurdles remain.
And the other big piece must be recycling, reusing the metals we already have in batteries.
Absolutely vital. Companies like Redwood Materials, founded by a Tesla co-founder, and Li-Cycle are working on this. But it's not simple.
What are the main challenges there?
Well, logistics, for one. Collecting all those spent batteries from different places, transporting them safely, it costs money. And globally, e-waste recycling rates are still pretty low.
And regulations changing, like China tightening up standards on importing waste materials.
Yeah, that adds another layer of complexity to the global flow of recyclable materials. It's a system still very much in development.
When you look back historically, have we seen these kinds of resource scrambles before?
Oh, definitely. Maybe not on this exact scale or with these specific environmental lengths, but resource booms and busts are a recurring theme. Think about antimony, suddenly in high demand during wartime for hardening lead bullets.
Or going way back, the silver mines in Potosi, funding the Spanish Empire for centuries. Massive extraction, huge consequences.
Exactly. History shows these rushes happen. This one, though, is tied directly to a global attempt to, well, save the planet, ironically, which makes it uniquely complex.
So wrapping this up, if we boil down this deep dive, what are the absolute key threats?
Okay, I'd say, 1, soaring demand for these critical minerals, it's undeniable. 2, the demand is redrawing the geopolitical map, creating new power centers and dependencies.
3, mining these metals involves serious environmental and social trade-offs, real conflicts on the ground.
And 4, innovation in both extraction and recycling offers potential solutions. But they aren't silver bullets yet. They need scaling and investment.
Right. So the core challenge remains that balancing act. How do we get the materials we need for a sustainable future?
Without wrecking the planet or trampling on people's rights in the process. How do we do it responsibly, ethically?
It's this intricate web resources, politics, environment, justice all tangled together. Finding truly sustainable pathways is the ongoing work.
Absolutely.
And maybe that leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. As we race towards this electrified world, what does a genuinely green transition look like? How do we ensure the benefits don't come at an unacceptable cost, environmentally or socially? And ultimately, who bears the responsibility for navigating these impacts? Something to really think about as this massive global shift continues to unfold. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.